coming to you from the Hart Building in historic downtown Marysville. Getting into all the dirt from the gridiron game, it's time to huddle up with your host, Adam Avalos.
Left, now taken off, gonna run for it, he got it, and there he goes, inside the 10, the 5, oh, the play of the year in the NFL.
Welcome to Huddle Up on 93Q. That was the play call. Josh Allen last night ending the undefeated season by the Chiefs. That was kind of a nail in the coffin run if I ever seen one. That was awesome. What did you guys think? Reaction to that run, Chunk?
I think just about every man in the United States, and especially in the Bills, still has a half chub. Just from watching that
Watch
run.
those words.
Hey, it's walking the line, but it's okay, I believe. That, to me, that was amazing, and it just felt so right.
Yeah, that was awesome. Anybody that's tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes win was kind of rooting for them. I know I was thinking about Chad all night because last week we had an episode where Chad's a Dolphins fan and they had that one season where they were undefeated. And I can remember watching that Patriots season with them, and he was really rooting against the Patriots because he wanted his team to be the only one with that, that title, the perfect season. And so last week when we were kind of all talking about it, I know Chad is really, he was happy to see Josh Allen run that one in and kind of put that to bed. Bills wide receiver Khalil Shakir said after the game, when Josh takes off, I find myself watching wow, he's different. When he took off today, I just started yelling. I couldn't stop yelling. I was blanking in my head. Keegan, what do you think? The Chiefs, they were on a roll there. They seemingly couldn't lose to anybody. They roll into Buffalo, and the Bills take it to them. Put it away at the end.
Oh man, that I think that's what I appreciated the most about that, because we've seen how many times when you give Patrick Mahomes a chance to respond and give him an opportunity, it just generally doesn't go well. So I thought that them on the fourth down, going for the win was really a great move. And yeah, what a run. Yeah,
we talked about it a few weeks ago. Baker Mayfield was playing the Chiefs and they didn't go for it. And then they went into overtime and then they end up paying for that. But, Josh Allen, they were going to go for a field goal on fourth down. And Josh Allen said, I appreciated the coach for trusting us. He said, anytime you give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes, that offense down 6 with the game on the line, I like their odds in that situation, Allen said. So wanting 6 or 7 points to try to make it a 2-score game he felt like was necessary right there. He didn't want to. I saw a lot of memes as taking it out of the referee's hand, because the Chiefs, they get a lot of for referees, but Josh Allen didn't want to leave it up to the refs. Kelly, what do you think? The Bills, they take out the Chiefs. Is this something that you see as a sign for things to come? Could the Bills potentially do this in the playoffs to the Chiefs?
So during that game, it looked like the Bills were the better team the whole game.
Yeah.
If you watch the offensive line, defensive line, the Bills team were the better team. But we got to go back. This is the regular season. The Bills were 3-1 against the Chiefs in the regular season, the Allen and Mahomes era. And in the playoffs, they're 0-4. So this is the regular season, and yes, it was a good game. The Bills look great. Josh Allen should be what he is, moved up in front of the MVP ladder. He's number one right now. But I think the playoffs is a different beast, and that's when everybody gets a little tighter, and that's when Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs will be their best.
So I pulled it before we came in here, and I have it that Josh Allen and the Bills are 4-4 against the Chiefs. So you think they haven't beat them in the playoffs?
No, it said they were 1-4 in the regular season and they're 0-3 in the playoffs.
Really? So they're 7 and they've lost 7 out of the last 8?
No. They're 4-1.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So they've beat them in the regular season quite a few times, but they haven't been able to beat them in the playoffs.
Patrick Mahomes has only beat Josh Allen once in the regular season, but
I can remember a game they played not too long ago, where afterwards there were some controversial calls and the Chiefs end up losing the game, and they kind of met at the field, and then Patrick Mahomes was kind of saying something to him under his breath, we got a raw deal or something like that, and everybody was kind of saying he was a little bit of a poor sport. But I don't know. What do you think about the rivalry, Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes? This is kind of a cool one, right?
Yeah, it's going to go on for as long as these two are in the league.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Kelly, you said MVP odds changed. You sent a photo of that, and I knew they kind of were. I mean, we were all kind of talking about it. We had this. We post a lot of these videos and stuff on YouTube, and we had like a short last week on YouTube. It got like the most comments and people commenting about it, but there were a lot of people who didn't like the Ryan's take that Josh Allen was the MVP. There's a lot of people saying it was Lamar Jackson, hands down. What do you think about this performance this week? Did that change like a lot of people's mind, do you think? Did that put him ahead of Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Patrick Mahomes?
It definitely did. Josh Allen now is plus 150 to win the MVP, where Lamar Jackson is plus 200. You got Jared Goff at plus 650, which is that's just, them being nice to Jared Goff, because he's never winning an MVP over those two. It's going to be one of those two.
I think whenever you watch like the Chiefs too, you still have like a sense that Patrick Mahomes has a pretty good team around him, some guys, and then also his coach is Andy Reid.
Yes.
When you're watching the Bills, it's like you're watching just Josh Allen just take over the entire game.
He has to do more.
Yeah, it just feels like he's doing it all. But you think end of the season, you think things keep going this way? Josh Allen finishes, wins MVP?
To me, I think so.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking with Ryan last week. I thought the same thing. Josh Allen has been doing everything for his team, and that's what an MVP is. And I was talking with Kelly earlier, like ever since Henry got on the Ravens, is Henry the MVP? Because once he got there, everything changed. Lamar's throwing for more yards, they're rushing for more. The whole team changed, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that game in a little bit, too. They obviously lost yesterday to the Steelers, but they're still a good team. They're going to be there in the end. Checking in with Monday Night Football right now, the Houston Texans are beating the Cowboys 14-7. There is a minute and 11:39 left in the second quarter, so I think we all probably have the Texans to win this game, right? They got to beat the Cowboys. Cowboys are down Dak Prescott, probably some other. Is Parsons playing tonight?
Yes.
Micah Parsons playing tonight, but they're down their quarterback. Houston Texans, probably considered the better team.
Nico's back tonight too, isn't he?
Who's that?
Nico Collins.
Oh yeah, Nico Collins back tonight too.
So for their passing game.
Yeah, so some much needed wide receiver help for the Houston Texans. Wanted to get into what were we going to talk about next? Wanted to get into Cool Kids Club. This is a time every week where we put some glasses on in the studio. We name another initiate into the Cool Kids Club. This is a club you want to get into. This is a club that there's a lot of prestige involved in the Cool Kids Club. Keegan said once that it was better than a green jacket from Augusta. So going around the table, Chunk, who you got? Who you inducting into the Cool Kids Club this week?
This week, besides Josh Allen.
All right, Josh Allen. He's our. We always have like a unanimous one. Yep. Josh Allen's unanimous.
Pretty sure he is. Mine is Bo Nix. He's having a great second half of his rookie year. I mean, Sean Payton's has him going. Last game, 307 yards, 4 TDs. I mean, you're forgetting that Russell Wilson was a team last year.
Yeah.
Like, no one cares that they lost all that money. I mean, it's Bo Nix right now.
Yeah, the Bo Nix has really came in and kind of helped turn that franchise around, especially from like just a mentality standpoint. When you lose Russell Wilson and you got all that money tied up into it, you're thinking you're probably going to be kind of destitute in some areas for a few years, and they turn around, they get Bo Nix. He looks like a guy that's getting along with Sean Payton. A little funny fantasy trade story. I had Bo Nix on my fantasy team. We'll see. Time will tell if it was a good trade. But in order to get Derrick Henry and Ramondre Stevenson, I traded Bo Nix, running back from the Lions, David Montgomery, and who else did I trade?
Was it Brian Robinson?
Yeah, Brian Robinson, and all those guys are tearing it up, including Nix. And I got Henry, who's had 10 points the last 2 weeks. And so, I don't know, Derrick Henry, I'm sure he's going to pick it up. He's the number one running back in fantasy. But gosh, the last 2 weeks, I could have used those guys on my team. Keegan, who you got? Your Cool Kids Club member of the week.
So I have someone who's kind of, he's kind of a little out of the spotlight just because of his playing mates.
That's all right. That's what I like it when you call Cool Kids Club to somebody that's not getting enough attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he's missed a few games. My guy is T. Higgins. So when you play next to Jamar Chase, the limelight is definitely not with you. But when he's on the field, he makes an impact. And, oftentimes the teams will double up on Chase. They kind of try and take him out of the game. I mean, they often don't succeed. But T. Higgins came in. He had 13 targets, 9 receptions, 148 yards, and a touchdown. And
That's a heck of a game.
You saw him all over the show.
Yeah,
It was great.
Before we go to the next one, what do you think, though? They lost last night again. The Bengals lost to the Chargers last night. Herbert looked good, man. That every once in a while, that guy flashes some stuff, and I think, man, he could be in the mix, giving Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and those guys some trouble at the end of the season.
Absolutely.
Well, but the Bengals are done, right?
Yeah, they should have went to see the Wizard because they don't have any heart on defense.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
if
gosh,
they only
darn.
had a heart. But yeah, man, each game like Joe Burrow said, he's having one of his best seasons of his
statistically,
career.
yep.
Right. And look at their record.
Yeah.
Every game they've pretty much been ahead going into the final minutes of the fourth quarter, and their defense always gives up the touchdown.
4-7. There's 7 games remaining. So best possible record is 9-7 for them. If they win out, they're not going to do that.
No,
so,
they got a tough schedule.
Yeah, man, stinks. I mean, what do you do now what do you do while we're on it? What do you do with Jamar Chase next year? He needs that contract extension. He's obviously been worth it, but that's not correlating into wins. So it's not like one of those signings you can just make that one and hope to be better next year. Like, as you said, defense is their biggest problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be tough because they're going to have to bring him back. They're going to pay him for what he did. He took them to a Super Bowl, him and Joe Burrow. So they're going to pay him, right?
Yeah.
They can't pay him and Higgins.
T. Higgins.
So T. Higgins is probably going to be with the Raiders or someone next year. So.
Yeah, no. Would you like that, Chuck?
I would.
Yeah, I'll
but
take
it's
anybody.
probably going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, whenever anybody asks me what do you like with the salary, it's not my money, dude. Bring them on. Anybody that you could throw over to the Niners, bring them on. But I agree. It's just a bummer. I don't want to see the Bengals out. It just now the games like they're kind of empty. You're just playing for pride, and I don't know. It's going to get real ugly for some of these teams that are bounced already. Like when you're not playing for anything, you're 4-7. You're 11 games into the season. It gets a little ugly. But Kelly, who you got? Who is your Cool Kids Club member of the week?
Pulled out my Detroit Lions jersey.
All right, I like
Didn't
it.
have a Jared Goff jersey, but
Is that
it's
Barry
Jared Goff.
Sanders?
Barry Sanders.
Man, my
baby.
favorite running back of
Yeah.
all time, Barry Sanders, bro. You get on YouTube, watch a highlight video of Barry Sanders. That is like the prototypical running back. Go ahead,
Yeah,
though.
he was Barkley before Barkley was jumping over backwards.
Yeah,
and stuff, all that
he
stuff.
definitely was. He definitely
But
was.
Jared Goff, man, he put up a perfect quarterback rating last night in the game. He threw for 4 touchdowns, over 400 yards, and he did what most of us didn't think he could do. And he led that team was it 7 straight touchdowns?
Yeah.
Ridiculous, man. So the Lions, of course, they're a good team, but Jared Goff is playing out of his mind right now, and I love what the Lions are putting on the field. Their attitude and just every spot. They got good wide receivers, good running back, and we all knew they had one of the best lines in the NFL. And their defense is playing way over their head right now.
Yeah, I don't have it right in front of me, but I saw a thing that they've hung 50 on a team twice this year, and I think 47 in another game. Their offense is high powered as it comes. 52-6 yesterday. Jacksonville is awful. They're just like awful. We said I know I said, and I don't think other people were agreeing with me. But what's his name? They got to get
Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. They got to get him out of there, man. He's overrated. They paid a lot of money for him. I mean, even if your team is not very good, at least like the Bengals, they're hanging in there, right? Because Burrow is doing some things.
Right.
The Jaguars 6. I mean, the team probably let up after 30. You can't score 1 touchdown for pride. You know what I mean? They got to get him out of there. I'm not liking that. Is Detroit the team to beat? Are they number 1 hands down in the NFC right now?
Yes.
Yeah, hands down.
absolutely.
Yeah, they're an offensive juggernaut. I just do not. I do not want to face them in the playoffs. My guy is Taysom Hill. Let me find my notes here. But Taysom Hill, Swiss Army knife of the NFL. I want to read you the stat line, which was ridiculous yesterday. He had 18 yards passing, 7 rushes for 138 yards. He had 3 rushing TDs. 8 receptions for 50 yards, 42 return yards, and he lost a fumble. He also had an interception, I think, too. But the guy plays tight end, running back, quarterback, wide receiver, kick returner. I was thinking about it. Has there ever been a player that really does what he does? I mean, Cordarrelle Patterson played some multiple positions recently. Devin Hester played a little bit of stuff. I mean, is there anybody in the NFL that plays all these positions? Who's even close that you could think of?
I've never seen someone have a week like this, but they said there's a site, if you could play Taysom Hill at quarterback, he would have been the QB1. If he had running back, he would have been the RB1.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, he's the wide receiver one. And tight end, he was a tight end one. So that's ridiculous.
I saw in our personal fantasy league, he was on waivers.
Yeah,
and he had like 48 points. And the cool thing about Taysom Hill is if you play fantasy, you can start him in like 3 different positions. Like, so if you're short on one, you'd be like tight end, wide receiver, running.
Super flex?
Yeah, he's like the ultimate super flex player. But Taysom Hill, why doesn't he? I mean, I guess he does play a lot, but why don't the Saints utilize him more? I guess like I've definitely seen him play quite a few times, but it always seems like he's not part of the game plan, and then all of a sudden he busts out for some 30-yard run, and you're like, who is this
and
guy?
next week he'll have like 4 touches.
Yeah.
That's what they do. He'll have a huge week, and then the next week he just got like 1 fantasy point.
It's kind of weird, though, because he's like also a lifelong Saint. Like, he's been there forever. He must love it there, because other teams have got to be jockeying for his services every once in a while. But the Saints like him, and he likes playing in New Orleans, and I don't know, it just works. But that guy's, he's really cool. Being able to play all those positions is really awesome, right? Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. We're going to go to a commercial break. Come on back. Huddle Up 93Q. I'm Adam Avalos with eXp Realty. I'm a born and raised third-generation Yuba Sutter resident who has lived in the area all my life. My office is located at 1429 Calusa Highway in Yuba City, providing commercial and residential services to Yuba Sutter and Butte counties. Whether you are buying or selling, I promise to treat you and your friends and family like my friends and family. More information about Adam Avalos Realtor can be obtained by phone at 530-933-3541 or by following Adam Avalos Realtor on Instagram or Facebook.
As we enter the rainy season and hope for rain, but not too much, we are thrilled to say that in Yuba County, we've made a ton of progress in improving our levee system and reducing our flood risk. But there is still much more to do. At Yuba Water Agency, reducing flood risk is job number 1. We are preparing now for more frequent extreme storms. We're already seeing them. And we just want you to know that we are working hard to reduce your risk even more. Learn more about what the future holds at yubawater.org.
Welcome back to Huddle Up on 93Q. Second segment coming at you. We are going to pull the fire alarm on some people. I'm going to take my keys out of my pocket. I got to get loose. You know what I mean? We're going to pull the fire alarm to people. This is a segment of the show that you do not want to be on. You Cool Kids Club, you want your name to be there. Fire alarm, you don't want your name to be there. And I've heard that some of the guys that we've named our fire alarm guys, that they sulk in a closet for a week after they hear that we've named them our fire alarm player of the week. So let's keep it going. Let's make somebody cry. Kelly, who do you got? Who's your fire alarm player of the week?
Okay, I've been on this guy.
He's ready to drop bombs on somebody. Okay, let me go. Don't hold me back.
I've been on this guy all year.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to go in.
Yeah, go in, bro.
Aaron Rodgers, come on.
All right.
Again. I've been telling y'all since the preseason. Overrated. He thinks he's better than he is, and he's killing his team. They showed those memes where they had Wilson that has a better record than him, and Devontae Adams, he's making Devontae Adams look washed, Yeah. Devontae Adams is open if you watch the game. He's not hitting them. And then he's always walking off the field with this face like, why didn't you catch that? Or, he's not even throwing the ball in their catch radius, Unless he was a pigskin pterodactyl or something?
Yeah, he's a pigskin pterodactyl.
So,
and we've talked about it before, the Jets and him, he has no excuse. They've surrounded him with the awesome team. The coach that he didn't like, they fired him.
Exactly.
They've got defensive players. There's no excuse for Aaron Rodgers to be this bad. But Yeah, I mean, and we talked about it. We don't think he's even coming back next year, right?
Right. No way.
So he's done. He's just going to retire. This is going to be his legacy. The Aaron Rodgers legacy is just over.
They asked him that question. He didn't even give him an answer.
So is this going to be like Green Day for Aaron Rodgers, Welcome to Paradise, and bringing him back home? Is that what's going on?
Oh, my gosh. 24th in the NFL QBR, Aaron Rodgers not having a good season. Yeah, I got to agree with you. And I was somebody that was hyped. I couldn't believe he was he was going to be that bad. I watched this show. It's called, well, it's not called Talk anymore, but James Jones, one of his former wide receivers, is on that show. It's called something else, like The Facility or something. I like that show because there's NFL players on it, and he played with Aaron Rodgers, and he's always defending him hardcore, and it's been tough for him this season.
Shady's on that show.
Yeah, Shady's on that show, and Emmanuel Acho. I love that guy. Yeah, it's a great show, but I like that pick. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Aaron. It's time, bro. It's time. Lay off the ayahuasca or whatever he's on. But all right, Keegan, who you got? Who are you pulling the fire alarm this week?
So mine is actually somewhat related to yours, I guess, but yours is a little bit more detailed. Mine is just the Niners in general.
Yeah,
I'm worried about them. They don't. They're kind of the opposite of the Chiefs, where the Chiefs tend to find a way to win games. The Niners seem to be finding ways to lose them. They very well could have won, 3 more games than they have. But they're sitting in a really dodgy spot with some resurgent teams. The Rams and the Cardinals are playing pretty well.
Yep.
I think the Seahawks are probably playing a little bit better than the Niners at the moment, and that's even with quite a terrible defense. Yeah,
they beat them yesterday. So, I mean, you could make a case for that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely time to pull the fire alarm on them. I mean, when you look at the schedule upcoming, it's pretty brutal. We're going to get into the Niners here in a second. But before we do, let's hear from Chunk. We want to hear who you're pulling the fire alarm on.
Fire alarm today is Doug Peterson.
Oh, Doug Peterson. All right. Yeah, from the Jags. Yeah. He doesn't even seem to think he's on the hot seat either.
No, I mean, he's 9-8 the last 2 years. If they're going to fire me, it'll happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's one way to play it.
9-8, now he's 2-9. I mean, he did have the one good year for, Philly with the Super Bowl. But before that, he was also, was it 9-8?
Yeah.
And 2 times, and then 4-11 his last year. And he was given Trevor Lawrence, and he just did nothing with it.
Yeah.
They got to let him go. And they should get Ben Johnson over from the Lions.
Well, yeah, and we just talked about it. Even sometimes
I think he could do well with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that would be a good pickup. But even the way that they lost yesterday, 6 points, it's like the team is just checked out.
They're giving up on them.
Yeah. Somebody.
No one's playing for them.
I've said it multiple times when teams have bad weeks. Somebody's got to pay, and he unfortunately just has to be the guy. They're not going to cut Trevor Lawrence. They got too much money into him. He's the franchise. When you probably drive to the stadium, all the banners got his long flowing hair and stuff. They're not getting rid of him. They don't think he's the problem. But Peterson probably. There's
no life in that team for him at all.
Yeah. My guy is, and I hate to do this with him, I was thinking about it, I was like, this isn't personal at all. Not that he cares. He probably, go fly a kite at him. But it's not personal. It's just business. And it's because I watched him ever since the Niners drafted him. But my guy is Deebo Samuel. He plays the wide receiver position, but he's playing it horribly this year. I mean, every time you watch him, even when Brock Purdy throws him the ball, he is blanketed by some defensive back. He's getting no separation whatsoever. In a year where Ayuk is injured, Deebo really, really, really needs to step up. His wide receiving numbers are pretty atrocious, 52 catches for 490 yards. But what's even more alarming is Deebo used to be like one of those players that was kind of a one of one. And, early on in his career, or maybe not his rookie year, but every year after his rookie year, there'd probably be like 3, 4, maybe 5 if you include the playoffs, what I would call Deebo games, where he just kind of took over, where it was like personal. You'd see him wear like the black cleats out to the field, and then you knew it was like on. Deebo's not Deeboing anybody this season. Rushing yards, he's never had rushing yards under 5. In 2021, 6.2 yards a carry. 2022, 5.5 yards a carry. 2023, 6.1. This year, 2.9 yards per carry, and he's carried it 27 times. Last year, he only carried it 37 times. So he's carried it a lot, and they're not getting any production from him in a year when they desperately need it. A game yesterday, they don't have Kittle. They need Deebo to step up.
Is he still a little banged up, though?
I'm not sure if he's banged up. To me, he looks healthy, and they say he's as light this year as he was his rookie season, and you could tell he looks a little bit more slender, but he's not faster. Like, he's not creating any more separation. I saw, like, in the offseason, he was working out with, like, Ricky Pearsall, and supposedly they were really, working on their cutting and their route running and stuff like that. But we haven't seen it. Jawan Jennings, meanwhile, is opposite of him, making much less money, and he's the 49ers' best wide receiver by a mile. I mean, Deebo Samuel, if you can't run the football and you're not really that great at wide receiver at this point in the season, I don't know. I don't want to say, like, bench him, but I legitimately think he's that bad right now that the 49ers could make him like their third, maybe fourth. I'd rather see Ricky Pearsall and maybe like cowing out on the field than Deebo Samuel. That's me personally.
He's no Taysom Hill.
He's no Taysom Hill. No, and that's the thing. That was kind of his allure. Like, last year, he would have kind of lower statistical games, and then he'd go out and do like what he did to the Eagles, and you'd be like, all right, it's worth it if we're going to have him like just come alive and take over a game. But this year, he's taken over 0 games. There's been many opportunities to do so. If he's hurt, then say you're hurt and sit out the game, because at least then we can see what we got, because he is out there, and I'm telling you, one of the reasons why I think Brock Purdy has had such a rough year is there's, in-depth statistics about it, but these wide receivers are just not getting open. There's a reason why he keeps looking for Jennings, and even Jennings is not like wide open all the time. They're missing Ayuk big time, but anything else to? Well, we're gonna roll. We don't before we do that. We're gonna roll right into the Niners game yesterday. They played the Seahawks. It was a pretty bad loss. That's a team they've beaten. I think the last 5-6 times they've beaten them. And so, want to get your guys' take on the 49ers losing to the Seattle Seahawks in a pretty must-win game for both teams yesterday. Seahawks might have needed a little bit more, just like win-loss record-wise. But what do you think, Kelly? Niners lose to the Seahawks.
I think this is one game that you could put on the coaching.
Really?
I was wondering why, if McCaffrey is healthy, they weren't using him like they usually use him,
Yeah.
I mean, he still looked like he was McCaffrey, but I think he had, 16 touches? Mm-hmm. I don't know the numbers, but it just didn't seem like they were using him as like they used him, putting him out and throwing him them little quick screens and stuff. And I just thought that Shanahan got out-coached in that game.
Yeah, McCaffrey, 19 attempts, 79 yards, 4.2 yards a carry. Jordan Mason, I'm not really liking how they're working him or McCaffrey back in. They're just like, all of a sudden he comes back from Achilles, which I don't care what anybody tells me. I know he's not 100%. I know he's not right. And so why are they not mixing in Mason? Mason's shown, maybe if it's like a 25-75 or something, that's fine. But you can't give Mason 2 carries in the game. And so I'm with you on that. Like, I don't really understand what Shanahan is doing. Keegan, what do you think of the loss of pretty big one for the 49ers.
Yeah, it was very disappointing. I thought they had it in the bag there, and then all of a sudden Geno Smith is running into the end zone. It's like, what?
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, no, it was very disappointing. I agree. I agree with both you guys. I think that Christian McCaffrey's usage is questionable here.
Yeah.
I would like the ball in his hands more, but I also don't want to overuse him.
Yeah.
And then, potentially if they do make a run, then he
But when I say touches, I'm talking about the type of touches. Get him out on the outside.
Yeah.
They used to run him in motion and throw him that little so that he's on the outside and it's just like a sweep.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to use the effort of running the sweep. You get him in a situation where he gets in space, where he's the best player in the NFL in space.
Yeah.
And I just didn't think they did that enough.
Well, and I think maybe to give them a little break on that, maybe they know a little more than we know in the fact that Christian McCaffrey's not back up to 100%. You could see him even when he's running, the run plays that they've ran for the last few years. He's not as spry. He seems like he kind of worked up to it. This week he looked better than last week, in my opinion. But you're right. They got to. And then, too, why just go away completely with Jordan Mason? Yeah. I mean, we know the wide receiver, room is not, what it once was, and they're having some issues there, and they're kind of totally going away from what works. And Mason is a really good running back. Chunk, what do you kind of think the game yesterday? 5-5. Now they're tied for last place with the Seahawks. The Rams are kind of coming up. Arizona's leading the division. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card at this point of the year. But what do you kind of think? 49ers lose to the Seahawks.
Well, personally, I didn't watch the game.
Yeah.
So just looking stat-wise, it looked pretty evenly. It looked like coaching wasn't doing well, like Kelly said. I mean, it looks like maybe the 49ers couldn't capitalize very much on what they needed to do. There was not but 9 penalties that they had. I don't know if any of them were called back touchdowns. I mean, and then they just couldn't do anything passing. That's what they need to do, it looked like.
Yeah. Jawan Jennings, 10 receptions for 91 yards yesterday and a touchdown.
He's been
like
impressive.
He was their only one.
Yeah, no, he's been really, really good, which is why it's sickening that, like, obviously Ayuk got injured, but, like, they have all that money tied up in him, and then Deebo's here. Like, legitimately, I'm done with Deebo. I'm just over it. Like, the experiment, I always knew that this day was going to come. He's not your typical wide receiver. He's never been all that fast, but yeah, for it to happen right now when they need him the most, it just seems like I wish he could turn it on a little bit. My kind of take on the whole thing about the Niners are, because, like, in a more broad sense, like, is the season over? Is their Super Bowl window over? I can admit that this Niners team, even if fully healthy, they're not the same team that has been to the Super Bowl. They got some stuff going on. I don't know if, like, guys just getting all these big deals is making people not as hungry. I don't know if the Shanahan gimmick is starting to get a little bit old, but they're not as good as they have been. But the injury thing is huge. Hargrave out. Talano Hufanga has not played in a few weeks. Dre Greenlaw out. Charvarius Ward, he lost his daughter. That was real tragic, but he didn't play yesterday. Nick Bosa didn't play for the third quarter and most of the fourth quarter. And then on offense, Brandon Ayuk, and they don't have George Kittle. Last week, I mentioned how George Kittle has been the number one tight end in the NFL this year, and he's second in the NFL for touchdowns. So yesterday they don't have that as well. So their wide receiver room, not the greatest, and then they're missing George Kittle yesterday.
And they only targeted Pearsall twice.
Yeah. Which, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think Pearsall's going to be good, but you can't expect a guy who just got shot who's played 2 games to come in. But yeah,
sure, maybe try something other than Deebo.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I'd like to see it.
The good news for the Niners fans, the Niners still have a chance in this division because they're not
It's so tight.
Yeah, exactly. And the Cardinals can lose to just anybody in the NFL. I think the Niners are having a little bit of the Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah.
But I think there is time and a chance for the Niners to still win this division.
See, me and you talked about it though, and I thought that was like it was a good point that you said. The Super Bowl hangover isn't always like emotionally. Sometimes it could be that the Niners for the last few seasons have played extra games, not just any games too. Like the games where you're like, if I break my leg in this one, I break my leg because like this is the Super Bowl. I got to lay it all out there. And so it seems like some of those have caught up to them by way of injury. I mean, they have a lot of injuries.
And not only that, guess what? What happens when you go to the Super Bowl? When you play those teams the next year, they're always going to give you their best games.
Yeah.
You know, they want to beat the team that beat them last year, team that went to the Super Bowl. So, that all contributes to that Super Bowl hangover.
Back to Keegan's point, and I think this is why for me it's been so disappointing, is because of all those people that I named, everybody has injuries. There's no doubt about it. And there's some teams who are probably more injury plagued than the Niners, but I guarantee Niners are in the top 5. We're talking about like legitimate like Pro Bowlers that are not on the field every Sunday. I think the Niners are up there with anybody. They could go toe to toe as far as their injuries. Their loss to the Vikings 23-17. Their loss to the Rams 27-23. Their loss to the Cardinals 24-23. They got beat pretty handily by the Chiefs 28-18, but then their most recent loss to the Seahawks 20-17. These are all like by a point or 2 points, 3 points. If the Niners have just like half those guys, or even this week if they have George Kittle, the number 1 tight end in the NFL, I can't help but think that they maybe win that game. And so it's a little tough when they lose the games and there's all those injuries. And then I wake up and I hear people saying like, fire Shanahan, or like, the Niners are awful. And it's like, well, they're not playing that great. They're 5-5, which isn't the worst in the NFL, but there's a lot of injuries. I mean, what do you guys think? You think the injuries are kind of an excuse, or you think like that the Niners are legitimately like, not that great of a team this year due to a Super Bowl hangover or whatever?
But I wouldn't call them great, but I think they're good enough to win that division. Yeah. And I think they can get into the playoffs. And hey, once you get in the playoffs, you never know what happens, right?
Yeah.
You've had teams come out of the wild card and actually win the Super Bowl. The Cowboys did it before, so
Raiders.
I think that's the most important thing is how you enter the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that like week or two right before the playoffs start, if you can get on a little roll and then you could be healthy for that first playoff game, you can turn some heads. I still think there's a chance, but more importantly, it's about like, the future for them, and they got to get healthy in order to compete. I've talked about it before. At the beginning of the season, we talk about the power rankings. This isn't like this team is the best if they have 6 guys injured. It's like this team is the best, or this is where I rank them if they're healthy. But want to get to Keegan's stat of the day. Keegan is going to drop some insane knowledge on us. I always love these. It's a stat that you're not thinking of, and then Keegan just drops it on you. So hit us with it, Keegan.
So this is actually your cool kid.
All right,
so
cool.
I thought this was kind of a cool little stat. So he had a 3-play sequence versus the Browns where he completed an 18-yard pass on second down. Then he immediately after that caught a 3-yard pass and rushed for a 10-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
The stat is he's one of 2 players since 1950 with at least 100 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, and 8 receptions in a game. The only other person to do it was LaDainian Tomlinson in 2002 versus the Broncos.
Oh, man. Prime LaDainian was crazy, huh? Gosh darn, bro. The Chargers were like, that was their deal. And then they had Phillip Rivers, who I don't remember who their wide receivers were. I know they had Antonio Gates and stuff like that, but Phillip Rivers was a gunslinger, and then put him there with LaDainian. That was one of the coolest teams to watch. They could compete with anybody, even when their teams weren't that good. As long as they had those 2 guys, they could come in and whip you.
Yeah.
Ugly uniforms, though. I didn't really like them uniforms. What do you think? Did you like them? I don't know. The dark blue navy
Those
pants.
Are Junior Seau days.
Yeah, Junior Seau. Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely like that stat. All right, we are going to go to commercial break. Come on back. 93Q, Huddle Up. I'm Adam Avalos with eXp Realty. I'm a born and raised third-generation Yuba Sutter resident who has lived in the area all my life. My office is located at 1429 Calusa Highway in Yuba City, providing commercial and residential services to Yuba Sutter and Butte counties. Whether you are buying or selling, I promise to treat you and your friends and family like my friends and family. More information about Adam Avalos Realtor can be obtained by phone at 530-933-3541 or by following Adam Avalos Realtor on Instagram or Facebook.
Here's your local weather forecast from community-supported 93Q. Tonight, our skies will be mostly clear with a low around 34 and a calm wind. A freeze warning will go into effect tonight through tomorrow morning. Then look for areas of frost early tomorrow morning. Otherwise, increasing clouds tomorrow with a high near 55 and a southeast wind at 6 miles an hour. And Wednesday will be mostly cloudy with a high near 54. A deepening trough of low pressure will drop in from the north, bringing periods of showers to our region from midday tomorrow through the rest of the week, and this could result in rain totals of nearly 2 inches over that time. A flood watch will go into effect from tomorrow night through Saturday, and our daytime highs will hover around the mid to upper 50s with this system, but our lows won't be as cold. Those temps will drop to the mid to upper 40s. This weather forecast is sponsored by Yuba Water Agency at yubawater.org, investing in Yuba County's future. For 93Q Community Radio, I'm Kurt Baird. Thanks for your support and have a good evening.
Welcome back, third segment. We are so happy to have you here. You could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here. I forgot to say that at the beginning, my tagline. Can't have an episode without saying that. But we are going to talk about all of us, including Gary. We all play fantasy football, and we're going to talk a little bit about fantasy football. We're going to talk about how our teams are doing, maybe how we did yesterday, if some of us want to talk about it. We're going to talk about some guys on our teams that are overproducing, higher than what we thought. And we're also going to talk about some guys that have been a big womp. So we're going to go to Chunk first. Well, let's go to Gary first. Gary, I know you're itching to say something. I can tell his lip was quivering. He wanted to say, now, who on your team is really tearing it up? Don't you have Jamar Chase?
I have Jamar Chase.
Yeah, he's got Jamar
he's been
Chase,
tearing
baby.
it up.
Yeah, tearing it up.
So so Jamar Chase has been just killing it for me, which is a great one. Also on my team that I have that I've really loved and has done a lot for me. Tyler Lockett. So
he's always solid. He's always solid. Yeah, you can pencil him in for like 8 to 9 points weekly. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Gary, thanks for chiming in. You're not officially on the show, but you're officially always in my heart.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go, Chunk. Come on, man. Who you got? Fantasy football. Who's been somebody that's been a pleasant surprise for you, and who's been somebody that's kind of a dud?
Chase Brown from Cincinnati.
Chase Brown, Cincinnati.
For Zach Moss. He was slow at the beginning, but took right off.
Yeah,
he was my guy later in the rounds, and then same with Kyron Williams. He's been doing a lot good for me for the Rams.
Yeah.
But my quarterbacks. I mean, I hate to say it, but I benched Jared Goff yesterday.
Oh my God! How many points did he have?
He had 42 points.
Who are your other two quarterbacks? We play in a 2-quarterback league.
I have Lamar Jackson, which of course he started.
Yeah, you got to start him.
He did okay.
Okay.
And then I put in Wilson because
Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Against each other.
Yep.
Oh, that's
because it was supposed to be like a 50-point.
I didn't think the Lions were gonna go that hard. On Jack. I thought they would just got ahead and just started running the ball, but they just threw it down.
I'm one of those people. If I have that 3 quarterbacks that are that good on my team, I trade one away because I don't want to put myself in that. Because I'll choose the wrong one every week.
Well, statistically, the Ravens have like one of the worst passing defenses. They have a really good rushing defense, but they have a bad. I was listening to the Ravens fans who were saying they have a horrible defense, and Lamar should be the MVP because he's the best thing that came ever. But I was like, okay, you know what? They're going to go battle it out. They're going to throw back and forth, touchdown. Nope, that's not how it works.
The NFL, that's why you love it, though, because any given Sunday, anything can happen. I mean, like this guy's playing the worst team in the NFL. They have the worst rushing defense. He should just run all over them and have like 57 yards.
All right, now who has had to buy a new phone because of fantasy?
Wish.
No, I haven't thrown my phone yet. Been close. But Keegan, who you got? Go over your roster. Tell us. Did you lose or win yesterday, Chunk?
I'm going to lose. I am losing.
But you're playing first place in our league, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no shame in that. And it was a close matchup. Keegan, who are you playing this week? You're playing J-Train.
I'm playing Jason, and I think he's going to beat me because I think Mixon's going to run for another 2 touchdowns.
Congratulate him on his win.
Yeah, these guys in our league, they do this voodoo.
Congratulations on the win, Jason.
Yeah, where they play each other, they're really, really nice. Like, too nice. Like sending gifts to your house and like handwritten notes and whispering "I love you" in the middle of the night. It's weird. It's like I don't know, a reverse psychology type of thing. Where you congratulate your opponent on their win before you've ever even started playing.
In my league, we don't talk to each other until we're done.
Oh yeah, this is a league of gentlemen, I suppose. I don't know, like evil gentlemen though. It's not nice when he plays me that week. It's like the games start at 10, and I'll get a text from him at like 7:30 in the morning. I'll be like, miss me with that, dude. Do not come at me telling me good luck today. All right, I'm coming to cream you. But all right, who you got, Keegan?
All right, I would say of the guys that I drafted that I haven't dropped. Well, I'll go with my positive first. I think Kamara's been good this season. He's been really good. I got him, I think, in the 6th round. I've been really happy with him. He's the number 2 or 3 maybe now with Saquon having that big game.
Rock solid. Love him because he does it all. I mean, he catches the ball, good for a PPR league, and also gets them rushing.
With Olave and like no real talent out there, I mean, he's been catching a lot of the balls.
You know what else is nice about him too is like he's not game script dependent. Like if they go down a bunch, he could still get a lot of points, like little scramble yards. But
absolutely.
All right, so I like Kamara. Who else you got?
My disappointing player. It's not been super, but it's Tyreek Hill. I mean, I made a pretty aggressive trade for him. Which took time for it even to really kick in. And I just feel like Tua is he's not going deep. And he's not really he's going to many different people. And who's a tight end again? Smith. You have him, right?
John.
He's going to him a lot.
Yeah,
I'm
glad I picked him up.
Why can't he just throw it to Hill? And Waddle is completely invisible.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I like those picks. Kelly, the fan food, the guru of fantasy football. Been playing. So one time, Kelly blew my mind. I was over at his house, and he started telling me about the first times he started playing fantasy football. And then he went and got a box from somewhere, and it literally had like binders in it. And inside the binders were like him and his guys weekly, they were doing it by pencil. Yeah. Like you'd have to get the stats from the 90s. Newspaper, and then you'd have to add it all up. Cool. And I said, I know I'm in the presence of greatness right now. Talk to me, baby. Come on, Kelly. Tell us what's up about fantasy. That was impressive, though. I was like,
That is cool.
number 2 pencils and everything. You can see his scribble marks. And go ahead, Kelly. Who you got?
Hey, me, Austin Eckler. And I took Austin Eckler in a lot of leagues. And
You like him, or he's been a letdown for you?
No, I like him.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Good
he's
to see.
solid. He's given me double figures in almost every game this year. And Cooper Kupp, I got Cooper Kupp. He's doing well. But someone who's let me down is Mostert. And I forget the guy from the Raiders that I dropped.
The White.
Zamir White.
Zamir White.
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Oh, yeah. That was a preseason.
Yeah.
No, so I'm going
Thank you,
zero
Andrew.
RB, right?
Molly.
Zero RB, but I like got 2 sleepers. I got Mostert and I got Zamir White.
Yeah, I know. Them sleepers, they're
Hey.
hit or miss. That's why they're sleepers.
I know, they still sleeping.
Yeah, they're still sleeping. They're sleeping right now. I know. Wake them up. I like that. Well, I told you guys about one of my duds. He's not a dud. He's like number 1 running back in the NFL. But like since I've had him, he's dudded out on me 2 weeks, and I traded a lot to get him, Derrick Henry. So I'm going to name him my dud because I'm in like second place. I don't know. I told my wife last night. She doesn't know. She doesn't care about fantasy football. She knows if I won or lost, whether I'm in a decent mood or a bad mood. And that also correlates with the Niners. But I told her, I said, there was a chance if you beat number 1, there was a chance I was going to get number 1. Thanks for ruining that for me, Chunk.
Hey, number
Couldn't
1
even-
doesn't always mean you're going to.
No, I know, and I'm tied for first place, but I really wanted to overtake him and let the old guy just have number 1 for 1 week. So, but I'm not number 1, but my team has been pretty solid. And one of the reasons why I think my team is now scary is the reemergence of Puka Nacua, who I don't have, but Cooper Kupp, who I do have, and Matthew Stafford. That offense, I said at the beginning, I got to go back to before even the season started, that offense is lethal. Now, I know Ryan had Puka Nacua, and he had 21.8 points yesterday. Cooper Kupp had 25.6 points yesterday, and Matthew Stafford had 35.8. And so Matthew Stafford, he's been my guy that I like kind of reached for. When you know how they give you those little grades after your draft that tell you how you did? It told me I did terrible right there. For the Stafford one, it told me I reached for him. But I had a lot of
though, because they're usually single quarterback leagues. So
Yeah,
whenever you
true,
take
true,
a quarterback,
true.
it's always going to.
True,
Yeah,
true,
especially
true,
in the
true.
2 quarterback league, they
Yeah.
they can't grade you.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a fair point. But I think even where I took him, I don't know. I just like him based on what he has around him, too, you know, and his particular talent.
And
but
you have to
Matthew
wait that out too, because when he didn't have his 2 receivers,
Yeah.
it was pretty tough over
it
there.
was super dicey
But
for
when
me.
they came back, really.
That's why I was riding Bo Nix, you know, but then I ended up trading him. But yeah, same thing though. If I had Bo Nix on my roster this week, then it'd be every week I'd be choosing the wrong one. You know what I mean? I'd be like, Bo Nix has got it in the bag this week, and then Stafford goes for 30 on my bench. But anyways, yeah, fantasy football. How you guys feeling about your placement in leagues? Are you in play? I know Kelly's probably in 17 leagues. The one you care about the most. How you doing, Kelly?
My $200 league, I'm 6-4. First place is 7-3. I'm winning this week, so I'm gonna be tied with first place.
Cool.
You know, so
Hey, that's always Keegan. What do you think?
Well, like I told you in our group text, I feel like I'm like the Niners. All these games that I
Yeah.
should have won, but yet I find a way to lose. Which again, I think I'll lose tonight again too.
Yeah, last week we were playing, right? And then the
Yes.
Dolphins got that,
Yeah.
and then you kind of pulled ahead
remember
for me.
who I left on the bench as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you left
Kyler
Kyler
went
Murray
off.
on the bench,
and
yeah.
then the week before he got like 4 points.
Yeah.
No justice.
Are you one of those people that if somebody leaves somebody really good on their bench that you acknowledge it and you say, hey man, if I always say, man, you would have beat me though if you would have made that one decision. Or are you one of those people that's like sucks to suck, brother? What do you think? What are you, Chunk?
sucks. This
It sucks to suck down.
No, of course you gotta stab him. You gotta poke him a bit.
Yeah,
Man, if you would have put him up there, you would have totally got me.
Yeah. I do that a little bit. I thank my lucky stars. But anyways, all right, we're gonna get to a game that I wanted to talk about. It was actually my dog of the week, but we're gonna get to the Steelers versus the Ravens. I picked them to kind of come in and let everybody know we're here. I think a lot of people, even myself, if I'm being honest, included, I was kind of thinking like, I know the Steelers are. they're playing good, but are they for real, for real? And so I picked last week based on what I more wanted to happen than what I knew was going to happen, and then it did happen. So I want to go around the table. Steelers beat the Ravens 18-16. They're first place in the division. Nobody had that. If you tell me that you had the Steelers first place in that division, I'll tell you you're a liar. You know what I mean? But what do you think about that game? Big win for the Steelers, 8-2, top the division.
It's another divisional game.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, they know each other, so they always play each other tough. And that's a little hint to my dog of the week. So.
All right, so you don't want to get too deep into it. Lamar Jackson said, "Oh, the Steelers have won." I thought the stat was insane because they haven't been better than them, but the Steelers have won 7 of the last 8 games against Baltimore. Each of the last 9 games between the teams has been decided by 7 points or less. So these are close games, and the Steelers have come out on top. That was before Russell Wilson and stuff like that. How do they have that mental advantage, or how are they beating the Ravens every single time? Keegan, what do you think? Mike Tomlin, we talked about him last week. He's an excellent coach. You think he just has great game plans for Lamar Jackson?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
They play him twice a year. So.
They do. But I know. But you would think that the numbers would be like 50-50 or a little bit closer.
Yeah.
I mean, and two, one of the teams is we would all say is
less
normally
talented.
More talented, and the other one's less talented. But yet they've beaten them 7 out of the last 8 times.
I think kind of like what Tomlin said when he made the decision to go from Fields to Russell Wilson. That's why they pay him the big money.
Yeah, you're right. Dude. Yeah. That was one of the ballsiest decision of the season.
I thought he was crazy. But
we got to get you for that. We can't let you slide.
No. But Fields was winning too, though.
No. I know.
Fields was winning. So, but I just didn't think going to Russell Wilson would make them a better.
Well, based on what you saw from him at the Broncos, he looked washed. He looked terrible. I agree with you.
He wasn't able to move in the pocket or anything. So.
They said yesterday, they said something about Harbaugh, and I'm going to mess up the quote, but he was doing his thing to Herbert at the beginning. It's so crazy because as a Niners fan, it's like you have these weird mixed feelings because you saw him do it to Kaepernick and Alex Smith, but he goes over at the beginning of the game and he hits him on the shoulder pads and then he pumps him and then he tells him you're the best. And the announcers were saying when you play for Harbaugh, he has a way of making you feel like you are the best quarterback in the NFL. You think some of that's happening with Tomlin and Russell Wilson? Maybe Sean Payton wasn't making Russell Wilson. Maybe he didn't, make him feel like he was the Russell Wilson of old, but maybe Tomlin is pumping him up and Russell Wilson goes out there and he's kind of like, dude, why can't I be as good as I've always been?
Exactly.
What do you think, Chunk?
I don't think Sean Payton respected Russell Wilson, and it showed with his team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other players that were yelling at him on the field and stuff like that, and then going to the Steelers and having someone have confidence in you probably does a lot for you.
Yeah. Russell Wilson, 205 yards yesterday, 23 of 36. He did have a pick, no touchdowns. It wasn't a crazy game, but I mean, they didn't lose. He threw that pick at the end of the game. He managed it, and the Steelers look like a team that could make a run of it, or they're at least going to be there in the end. A surprising team. I don't think any of us thought they'd be one of the 7 teams in the playoff mix.
Well, they didn't even know who their quarterback was really going to be in the beginning. Because it was like, well, is it going to be Wilson? Is it going to be Fields? They've definitely outperformed what I think a lot of people thought.
And they're in a good situation, too, because they have Fields as their backup. So if something does happen to Russell Wilson, they could win a game or 2.
Not like a Miami situation.
Yeah, not like Miami.
And they lose to the Browns next week.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to get right into that. Nice little segue. Thanks for helping me out there, Kelly. I need all help I can get. Last segment of the show. This is a segment I love doing. It's called Who Is Your Dog? I told you earlier this week that the team that I chose for my dog, the Pittsburgh Steelers we were just talking about, they won. My dog this week is going to be the Niners. I'll just tell you mine first. And the only reason why I'm choosing them is because A, I'm a Niners fan, but B, they have to win. They're going up to Lambeau Field. They play the Packers. It's a must-win game. They're 2.5-point underdogs. They've actually done pretty good in Lambeau. Jimmy G got some wins over there. Brock Purdy with some wins over there. They played them pretty good. And the Niners, it's a must-win. That's who I'm choosing for my dog. Let's see if it happens. Kelly, who you got? Who's your dog this week?
I'm taking the Cleveland Browns. Famous Jameis.
Yeah.
They will beat the Steelers this week.
Really?
Straight up. They're 3.5-point dogs. Cleveland beats the Steelers at home this
Why do you
weekend.
think that? Maybe this like a little bit
It's
of a
just a
hangover
divisional
from
game, and Steelers are coming off that big win.
Yeah.
And every time you're like, "Oh, they're the best thing since sliced bread," and they show you that.
I absolutely believe there's truth to the fact that sometimes you have those circle games that you circle on the calendar, and then you get up for that. You know, the guys that are hurt, they that maybe wouldn't play another game, they play on that one. And so maybe the Steelers put all their eggs into this basket, played really tough against the Ravens, and they kind of have a little bit of a letdown game, a trap game. So that was a good pick. Keegan, who you got? Who's your dog?
So you were talking about Harbaugh, and I think that obviously he's going to meet his brother. I'm going to take the Chargers at +3 at home versus Baltimore. I really like what they're doing over there. He's instilled a lot of discipline in them. They're playing a really good game. Herbert, like you said, is playing really nicely at the moment. He's got that connection with McConkey. They've got a good running game. Their defense has made some really good plays. I like them.
Dude, what do you think Thanksgiving's like at their house?
Intense.
Because he beat him and they played in the Super Bowl, man. I would just not want to, and me and my brother aren't the most competitive about things. My brother's not super competitive, but I'd hate to play him in the Super Bowl and lose. You know what I mean? That'd be sucky. Chunk, who you got? We're going to end the show. Chunk, who is your underdog that you think is going to pull it out this week?
I got Tommy DeVito and the Giants beating the Buccaneers.
Oh, wow.
Daboll's fighting for his job.
Daboll's fighting for his job? That was like week 3.
He's doing it again.
Yeah, he's just doing it again, man.
Italian out there.
Yeah, the Chronicles of Daboll. Yeah, they're not firing him. They must like him. But yeah, anyways, I like that. All right, DeVito, the Italian stallion. He's going to come out there. Yeah, Mamma Mia. Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Huddle Up 93Q.